This is a horror game podcast. It is meant for mature audiences. It may contain shocking revelations, violence, and sexual themes. Viewer discretion is advised. Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Thom Raley. The scenario is The Lesser Isle. It was written by David Gassaway, who is also our keeper of arcane lore, and this is episode 2. Our recap will be given by me as my character, Dr. Philippe Alvarado. So without any further delay, let's begin our journey into the darkness. We arrived on the island of Menorca in May 1925, Menorca being the Lesser Isle. It's located in the Mediterranean Sea, about 24 miles northeast of Majorca, Spain. Little did any of us suspect, as we approached the isle in the steamer, that we would be jostled by a sizable earth trembler. The rolling sea pushed the Lenora into some rocks, and she began to take on water. We managed to salvage our gear and row ashore while the Lenora headed to the nearest port for repairs. Once ashore, we were able to carry only a portion of our equipment with us along a rough goat path towards where we believed our base camp to be located. We had only just recovered from the previous excitement when the report of a rifle rang out. The projectile hit the rocks nearby, and Spencer Blackwell, following what must have been an ingrained reaction, pounced upon our intrepid photographer Finley Fisher, both men rolling together in the dust. I myself did not clearly register what had happened, and I thought some local hunter had mistaken us for rabbits. I called out to our assailant, never grasping the concept that we were being targeted, and which is fortunate thing that we weren't. It would seem that Professor Meisner, the lead archaeologist, had been rattled by recent events I will describe in a few moments. He was restrained by a Mr. John Anders, who apologized for the professor's errant behavior. He apprised us of the situation. The camp's radio communication had been damaged in an earlier quake. 3 men were currently missing: an archaeologist, Dr. Mitch Copper, the professor's personal assistant, Arthur Kleinschmidt, and the camp cook. The professor, like most archaeologists, seemed a bit paranoid, so I attempted to calm him with soothing words in his native Austrian. This seemed to work, and over the course of the day, we set ourselves up in camp. Dr. Elihu Outhwaite and I surveyed the odd Neolithic site. Our security man, Spencer Blackwell, walked the perimeter, doing what careful men do. Roland Cartwright, the cartographer, took some measurements and drew out a layout of the camp in his little book, while Mr. Fisher took some spectacular shots of the Taula and Navetta, and maybe some of the talot. From the moment we left Cambridge, I was fearful that my usefulness on this archaeological site would be limited. I was resigned to at least enjoy myself and make some new friends. But as it turns out, I have now taken on the position of camp psychologist and cook. Oh, and camp booster. The camp currently has only 6 of the original 9. John Anders, who I mentioned before, and of course, Professor Meisner. There is also Carol Ash, the geologist, Frank Childs, the mechanic, and 2 grad students, Hugh Maris and Anna Ramirez, both of whom seemed bright and eager to please. After lunch, our own engineer, Lillian Dupre, together with Frank Childs, managed to get the power going. The others were busy exploring the site. Finley said he thought he saw a blue statue inside the Naretta when his flashbulb popped, but later inspection revealed nothing, though they did notice a small hole that leads down possibly to an underground network of caves. That is when our evening took a turn for the worse. Professor Meisner was calling out and holding Ana Ramirez by the arm. He was accusing her of treachery. The poor girl looked quite distressed. Hugh Maris had gone missing. Her claim is that she and Hugh were supposed to go for an evening walk. I imagine that there aren't many prospects for a serious female grad student to find a compatible mate, and Hugh was slim, handsome, and intelligent. She says the professor walked in while she was searching and grabbed her. I once again took the role of camp psychologist and calmed down the professor. And so we began our inquiry. We began questioning the lot. I myself remember Hugh volunteering to do the dishes after lunch. I then went on a short walk with Spencer. I was intending on chatting with Hugh, but when I came back, he was not there. Spencer says that he saw the young man sitting on a rock near the talot, sketching. A bit later, Lillian says she saw Hugh heading to the sleeping camp. She assumed to take a rest. He spoke to her a little and then retired. She remembered he had his sketchbook. Upon examining his tent, we could see his sketchbook and charcoals. But more significant were his dusty boots. It seems our poor Hugh had simply vanished. Where he has gone in his bare feet, we haven't a clue. I hope this is a false alarm and that he is just out relieving himself behind a bush.
To be fair, Dr. Alvarado, there is a latrine set up, although I think not infrequently a bush is preferable when you're in the great outdoors.
Sometimes one likes nature. One wishes to add a bit.
It's a dry climate. So you're sort of crowded around the entrance to Hugh's tent, or his partition of the group tents that have been set up. How do you respond?
Well, did you notice that his shoes are here? Is he out barefoot somewhere? Are there any barefoot tracks?
Excellent question.
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, the general terrain is sort of hard packed soil, pretty dusty with stones and pebbles in it. The tents were put here because it's fairly level and fairly hard, and there's traffic all around. So I think a bare human foot is pretty unlikely to make an impression that would stand out against that.
So I suppose he could have his socks on. Are his socks here?
Well, the essential setup of each of these sleeping areas that are all private is a smallish area of walled off canvas. So there's larger tents that have partitions in them, 6 by 8 or 8 by 10, big enough for a cot and a trunk and a sort of side table or crate where you can keep an oil lamp if you want to read after lights, It's not a big space, and they're simple.
When I take off my shoes, though, I often roll up my socks into the shoes for later.
There are not socks in the boots.
So he might be in his socks. Would just get the socks very dirty. But
you get, especially if you took socks out of boots in the evening in this climate and walked around in the dusty soil, they'd be pretty disreputable pretty quickly.
What's in his sketchbook? Somebody pick that up and take a look. He should have been, what did you say, near the talot? Taliot?
Yeah, he was last seen by a couple of you. I think Mr. Blackwell.
Right, he was eating a sandwich, from what I recall.
He was. He may have had an after lunch sandwich. He had a sketchbook with him, and he was near the Taliot.
I'll have a look at his sketchbook if it's here.
Yeah, it's right. It's lying right at his cot. It's underneath a box of, those stiffer chalk pastels. So if you flip through, you'll see he's a reasonably talented graphic artist. He did a sketch of an approach to the island. He's done several sketches of each of the individual monumental structures, some in color with splashes of sky and indications of the greenery, and some that are a little more architectural, that he only uses black and gray for lightning. He occasionally jots notes, but you might need some time to figure out his handwriting because they're clearly not architectural. They're a thought that he had. He might well have a separate notebook.
It's a good talent for a young archaeologist to have, sketching.
And the last two are different angles of the talot structure, which again is it's a broken tower. It's a fairly tall stone tower, round in perimeter, that's somewhat collapsed, with stones falling inside and out. The second one of the two on the same page has an angle where you can see that he's sketched out both some greenery and a line of impressions to the right side. You're not sure, you don't know the place well enough to know, but he's sort of from the base of the talot, he's sketched out some horizontal lines that suggest he's looking at maybe ridges that could be a foundation that have yet to be uncovered or something like that. And that's the last page, which is only a quarter of the way through the flat.
Perhaps he's not that far away. Let's search for him.
May I, would wilderness survival be a roll to make to see if I can track this guy through the dirt or any unusual?
That would be specifically track skill. And again,
there is a track skill.
There is a track skill. That's fine. The problem again being that, the shelters are all in a chunk together with multiple entrances, and they're all the most walked around places. So isolating it, unless there was a sudden rain shower before he ran out, and there certainly was not, it would be essentially impossible to.
Can we guess from the position of his room which exit he most likely would have taken out of the tent?
That would depend on whether he wanted to go to the commissary area.
So there's
because there's multiple ways from all of the areas.
Got it.
What would we surmise about the fact that he left without his sketchbook? That he was probably intending to come right back?
Yeah, he doesn't have his shoes. You just assumed he'd gone to relieve himself. That's where I assume he is now.
Maybe he's just outside somewhere. We didn't hear him. We should
I'll
search.
take a quick walk around camp, the different tents and locations, and look for him.
I'll walk towards the ruins and around amongst them. There's still some light outside, isn't there?
Yeah, dusk is coming on, but the change here, unless a storm should go across the island, is not abrupt. And again, it's near the solstice in the Mediterranean, so you've got open skies.
Another hour or two of light.
Yeah, I mean it'll get into that weird dusky time when it's like if you're away from light, you'll start to get clarity, but then you can turn and suddenly think that it's very dark, sort of thing. You've got time, and the camp is now lit.
I'm going to.
Go ahead.
Miss Dupree is going to be exploring the perimeter. I'm going to go with her, and gentlemen and lady, I'm going to make the recommendation that we travel in pairs for the time being.
Very well.
I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm Southern. I'm English. Sorry.
It was the authoritarian impulse in you coming up.
There we go.
How are Messner and Anna handling this?
Meissner is just mumbling to himself, and he's got his hands on his face, and Anna just looks distressed.
Okay.
I would, she's
Anna, why don't you come with me? And we'll search for him.
And as you sort of file into the corridor between different areas to go your different ways, Mr. Maris shows up and he says, I say, is there a party I wasn't invited to?
No, but you're the guest of honor.
Indeed, we believed you'd gone missing, old boy.
You're poking around in my little sleeping area. Very odd.
The professor thought you were missing.
Oh, no, I have good and bad news in that regard. Let's everyone step out into the open air. It's close in here.
Yes.
He is wearing canvas exercise shoes, tennis shoes, boating shoes. He he says, I hope, there's no way to, Professor Meissner, do you recognize this? And he holds out a turquoise fountain pen. And of course, Meissner is, of course I recognize Kleinschmidt's pen. Where did you find it? And he explains that he was sketching at the talot earlier, that after a couple of vantages, he had climbed a bit to look down into the structure, that he'd seen something glint that seemed impossibly, nobody throws any beer bottles here. Like there's nothing new. Right. So he saw something bright and shiny, but his boots aren't very comfortable, and they're quite stiff. And so he came back, dropped off his sketchbook, changed his shoes, went back and climbed down, and he found what he fears are also Arthur Kleinschmidt's broken eyeglasses.
Oh no.
But he left them where he found them. He thought they were right next to the fountain pen, and that was maybe more identifiable, so he brought that back. And then he sees the look on his face, and he says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I suppose it is a little after the hour, but it seemed." And she just looks a little flushed and relieved.
Well, why don't we go and see this?
Because I think
perhaps we can find more evidence.
I know it's been rather long since we've seen Kleinschmidt, but if he isn't terribly injured, there might still be time. I believe that there's a somewhat. Well, I'll show you. You should. I recommend that we bring torches. Make sure you have decent footwear for climbing, and perhaps a bit of rope. I think there might be a collapsed cave entrance inside the talot.
Oh. I'm gonna look to Fisher and just be like, "See, I told you."
It's excellent. We're going to need more flash bulbs, though, if we're thinking about doing anything at night. So that might be a tomorrow thing.
I clap Hugh on the shoulder and I say, "Well, I'm glad to see that you're okay, young man."
Why would I be all right?
Well, there have been other people gone missing. We were just afraid that something might have happened to you.
No, it's true. I'm not some fool like Kleinschmidt that will go spelunking without telling anyone where I am. I mean, that's a fellow. And perhaps he had a tumble, and then, no. Anyway, yes, let's go. I suppose it's not possible for you to string some more of those. No, it's too far. We'll just do torches for now. And maybe, I don't know, we have to move rock.
Well, I mean, if he doesn't answer, we could wait until the morning and go when the light's out. But you said there seemed to be a cave, so we will need torches for that.
Yes, there may be. As soon as I found the glasses and the fountain pen, I came back, I'm not equipped, and so on. But it looked as though there were, the rock is discolored as if there's been movement. That's all I can say.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
So 15 minutes, everyone gears up and whatever.
Professor Meisner should stay here, though, shouldn't he?
Yeah, I think he probably should. Maybe with his assistant.
A little too.
It's my assistant who's down the.
Oh, that's correct.
Dumped and. What if there's something of importance down there? I should be there to. What if you damage some valuable artifact? No, of course I'm coming with.
Be very careful. Sure you have on the right shoes.
Yeah. This is not my first dig, young man.
All right.
So up you go.
Into the spooky cave we go. I'm going to bring my Webley and probably 2 or 3 extra cylinders worth of bullets. And of course, rope and climbing equipment or anything that I may have on my person.
Yeah, I don't imagine that you expected grappling hooks would be required. So
no.
There'll be some improvisation, but rope is universal and so on.
Got to stop myself from going into the Boondock Saint rope scene.
So Maris can direct anyone. His approach he had no difficulty with. The talot is the oldest, as far as anyone can tell, of the 3 ancient structures, and it's certainly the most broken down. So instead of trying to climb something sheer, you're scrabbling up stuff and then just trying to not to disturb it or be clumsy. It's on slightly higher ground than the Taula, and even though the wall is somewhat broken, it's good 20 feet up before you cross over maybe a 4 to 6 foot wide ledge, depending on how to what degree it's in decay. But again, Hugh has done it and is fairly confident about it. And it's sort of a spiral up and then a spiral down, and there's underbrush and whatnot inside because it's been a long time. And he's like, you see, that's where the glasses were that caught my eye. And the reason that I then went further, you see, there's the shrubberies there, and between them there's this dark area, and then what looks like rubble, you think? And so my expectation is that he was inside here exploring, and one of the tremors happened. I don't remember if there was one the day he disappeared. Do you, Miss Ash? She's like, we didn't record one, I don't think, that day, but it's been, we don't have an exact time for when he went either. It's not as though we've been doing roll calls. So I think, at any rate, that looks like freshly fallen stone to me, and I assume, Meissner, you'll recognize his glasses as well. And the professor is, I don't want to see anything. If there's a way to dig.
Can we assume from then the position of the pen and the glasses that they would have gotten knocked off of his face and out of his pocket, that something would have fallen on him or he fell into something?
I guess if anybody has any forensics, they could get, I don't know that anybody does, but that's the sort of thing, and in 1925, the idea is barely considered. He could have fallen from the rim and dropped his pen and glasses. He could have been bonked on the head and dropped these things. He could have been scrambling up because he saw a stake and dropped these things. You don't see clothing. You wouldn't expect to see marks of his shoes or anything.
Right. It's rock mostly here, right?
Yeah. It's rock and brush, so it's not a very clean landscape for looking for subtle clues.
But there's
Is
a
the
large
ground-
enough hole that he fell into, or
Yeah.
he could have fallen into.
There's a pile of rubble that could block a hole.
Let's start moving it.
Yeah. I feel
How far? Oh, go
I
on.
feel
I'm
like
sorry.
we're missing something. I just don't know where to even begin.
How far is the talot from the Nevada?
Some number of yards. The whole
Okay, so-
complex is within, let's say, 120 yards from. And there's other smaller stones too. For example, the Taula has some other standing stones that are near it. And as Hugh's notes suggested, there are indications of maybe ancient walls in this whole area. It wasn't just three structures. It was a complex that has three major structures, and that over a period of time, based on the rock composition and distance. But they're not wildly. They're not at opposite sides of a valley or something.
Right. Okay. Eli and Finley, these are close enough to the Nevada. Do you think that the cave entrance that you found in the Nevada could be connected to here?
That would be my guess. I think that there's some sort of underground. We're not on a hill, are we?
You're in a bit of a swale between two longer ridges.
All right.
So you're in a shallow, flattish valley, but it's not a river valley. It's just a low place between some not much higher places on the central ridge.
Do the hills look like they could possibly be mounds?
As an archaeologist, you wouldn't expect that there were structures like that here, and the stone that's exposed is mostly it's sedimentary stone, so it's not been built on. It's the stuff that raised or rose.
Okay. Well, I still think that this is probably a man-made tunnel. I mean, it could be a cave, but if it was sorry, go ahead.
It's worth noting that because a lot of the surface that you've seen is sedimentary, that there are natural pockets that you've already passed. They're just not, you wouldn't call them a cave because they're only a few feet in, or, and like that. But it's a terrain that natural caves would be unsurprising in.
Oh, okay.
The natural rainwater would wear away holes underground.
In fact, Dr. Outhwaite, if you say that out loud, Meister will say, "Yeah, there are cisterns closer to that village down there that probably were natural before the inhabitants opened them more, because there's this rock is porous somewhat."
Have you done?
Well, there's something digging too, right? We saw that in the boat building.
Well, this is we are excavating here. We're excavating each of these structures.
No, it was like a fist-sized hole that do you have gophers or something around?
Oh, no, this hole we did not see. No. Well, I don't think that sounds like something is digging. I mean, maybe, I don't. And he starts to just caress his head, look worried about something else that.
I'm sure it's nothing, Finley says, not wanting to set off the rifle-wielding professor again.
But isn't it?
Wait, we
isn't it
gave him a
possible?
gun?
Oh, I did. Were we not supposed to?
No.
I mean, Miss Ash could tell us whether the geology of this region is just riddled with, natural caves and crevasses. And
Oh yes, I don't know anything. Nothing's been mapped in this particular area, but there are both on Ibiza, Menorca, and Majorca significant natural caves, and frequently in ancient Neolithic and Paleolithic environments like this. They were expanded or used for.
So though these ruins may have been here for thousands and thousands of years, we might just happen to be here as the caves beneath are wearing through and some of this is collapsing, and we should be very careful.
The earthquake could bring something to the surface, maybe? I don't know how earthquakes work.
That is not one of my areas of expertise, unfortunately.
There have to be a fault line directly under us for something to push up.
Like lift it up? I don't know, yeah.
As I've said, there should not be quakes at all here, but there could be subsidences, as you say. There could be water or something acidic that causes a shift. They still don't explain the phenomenon we've seen, but when we do have an opportunity to explore them, then there could be fascinating discoveries involved. At any rate, yes, there's a great deal of limestone and sandstone here both. Both of those erode in ways that generate natural caves of various sizes. A degree of caution is wise, especially if we have a missing party.
Well, gee, I think we should pop our head in one of these caves just to see if there's any evidence of human inhabitation or something like that. I mean,
I'm just going to boldly walk to the edge of the cave, the hole, and I'm going to yell, "Herr Kleinschmidt, are you there?"
Well, there's not a hole. There's rubble.
Oh, there's rubble. Oh, that's right. There's rubble.
Yeah.
We got to see if he's buried under the rubble. Let's start moving the rubble.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's getting a little darker. You of course have oil lanterns too, because you don't string incandescent lights, just higgledy-piggledy. You have some torches, but they're not going to last very long. I mean, they're big old chunky things with chemical batteries in them. So if you light a couple of lanterns, because it's dusky, but you're now inside a vertical channel, so you're losing light. However, again, if he felt and hurt his leg, and he had a canteen with him, he could be 8 feet away. So you act with alacrity.
He's only been missing for 2 days, right? So you can survive a while. Not that I want to not miss dinner or anything, but
you could easily survive.
I'm sure we would have heard him if he were stuck in a cave. He would have shouted.
I call out anyway, just in case he can make some noise. Maybe he doesn't know we're there.
Sure. Yeah,
it's just, oh!
There isn't a reply, but that's not surprising. If any of you don't challenge John Anders, the foreman, he's going to set up a structure. It's like, you are the bigger people. You will stand near this pile of rubble. You will hand it, and we're going to stack it so that it doesn't interfere with anything else. And we're just going to try to move it from the top. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I'd like the foreman to work with our resident engineer. 2 brains are better than 1, after all.
And should we mark the stones as we move them so that we are in an archaeological site?
Meister's like, yes, we must be clear about everything. And Dupre and Blackwell, you can. It's fairly simple. You're only moving stones that look like you're not pulling anything out of a wall. You're taking things off a stack. They are often quite different in color than the things around them because they haven't been weathered in the same way. So if you select an area, you can busy Meissner with making a little rope cordon or something, give him an activity, and you can just start moving rock.
That sounds good.
And so we don't need to roll for strength or, this is mundane, but time consuming. And, you don't want to drop something big on your foot or, et cetera, or cause something to spill further in. So
I'll bring some food back from the thing. I'll make sure everybody's got water and stuff. And if I don't have to haul stone, all the better.
I will, as men do, take off my shirt.
Coffee.
Yeah.
So Finley bravely brings back coffee. This is where I'm tempted to make Finley roll a climb roll. and
looks like you're working hard, guys.
just for being that guy. So an hour passes, and what becomes clear is that there is at what was a base of this tower, a channel that is intentionally constructed, that presumably Kleinschmidt found and explored.
See?
You've moved, I don't know, 20 cubic feet of stone. It wasn't filled with dust or sand, rather. It's not going to cut off air, and there is airflow inside. But it's not a big entrance. It's a crawly entrance again. And when you call inside, you don't hear anything. When you stick your nose inside, you don't smell decaying flesh.
When we call inside, does it echo?
It resounds. It doesn't come back sharp, but there is space that goes on. It's not 8 feet inside. It's someplace that you shine a lantern inside and you see that that human-made arch curves into a larger dark space that is going to take a little thought.
Is Finley the smallest out of all of us?
I got a 55.
Oh, that's not that small.
No,
I got a 55.
I'm smaller than that.
I'm smaller than that as well.
Should we, since Herr Kleinschmidt isn't right here, he's not injured, he's not here on the floor, should we wait until morning, until there's more light?
More light won't help underground.
Absolutely. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only going to become more dangerous as we lose light. I agree.
All right. Dupre, would you roll for an engineering-like task?
Of course.
Whatever the closest thing to logistics. I assume that's engineering.
Yes. 40 out of under 41. Yes, regular.
So what you figure is that, assuming that this isn't just a quick dead end, you'd be able to relay some cable and bring in some lights. But you'd have to take them away from some part of the camp, or
site. Yeah.
It's you might not be able to go everywhere at the same time with the materials you have, which is not to say that torches and lanterns won't work. You have plenty of oil and plenty of oil lamps. It's just that people are more comfortable with general lighting. Not everyone has to be a spelunker either, but that's, you're asked for your assessment, and that's what you realize. Like, to light it is going to take resources away from other things. And again, you shine the light down without where you can go, like with just like a rope hold and leaning in. You call around and there's no response. You don't see, again, a scrap of clothing or a mark. It smells not unlike the sea, but it might be some sea air coming in from a coastal passage.
Well, we can surely string the lights through here if we want to continue this work. What do you all think?
Oh, Miss Dupree, I was planning on in the morning running into the town or village to get some food for cooking. I could see if they have a string of lights or that sort of thing that we could bring. Would the generator support additional lights?
Holding that roll, we'll say the technology you have is such that the more strings you put on, the dimmer everything will be. But it's not going to nothing's going to burst. You won't even use more fuel oil. It spins at the rate it's told to spin, and
maybe in the daytime we can switch it from one string to the other. We don't need the strings in the camp during the day.
Well, again, there's issues with cable there because we're talking about copper and rubber and cloth. Not, they're heavy and they're not cheap. So you only have so much material. But you can figure out whether, if some of you feel like, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I agree with the decision to get more lights. I think at this point, it's a matter of, do we continue tonight? Is somebody in peril? Does this need immediate action? Can it wait till tomorrow?
Anders exhausted.
Busy day. We almost got drowned today. I'd say we, go back at it in the morning where we're all rested.
It has been a long day, and so
a lot of stress.
His glasses, could he see without them? Would he be fumbling around blind?
The lens thickness suggests that he wouldn't be doing any reading.
Okay.
But not that he couldn't find his hands in front of his face.
And he had time enough at last.
He did at last. Opportunity to read that translation of War and Peace.
I'm in favor of going down right now because it seems like if every hour we waste is another hour he could be dead, but I'm not going down there alone.
Anders looks relieved when you say that. He is the foreman, so if somebody died on the site, it's technically his fault, even if the guy wasn't following protocol. So he's like, we're gonna tie 2 lines of rope and knot them, and if anybody else wants to join, they're welcome to. I think we should go more than an hour, or any place that we can't see with lamplight. But honestly, a cave is kind of as dark at night as it is during the day.
That's true.
Exactly.
And if he did fall down a hole here and he's just knocked out, then this is life or death. I guess I'm not going to pressure anybody. If a third person wants to join us, that's I think 3 is a little safer than 2, but I appreciate that, Blackwell. Okay.
I think so that I have some jobs to do in the morning early, so I'm going to retire.
I'm just going to look at Finley like, hey, come on.
I will follow it a slow pace. You're sure this tunnel, though, is structurally sound now, right, Dupree?
Yes.
Okay.
The part that leads to the natural cave has been there a very long time.
Yeah.
You can see the calcification lines that have almost cemented some of the rock together.
Well, why don't we cannibalize some of the lights from the Navate? Whatever. Steal some of those.
No, that's a tomorrow job.
Such a hassle.
You might have to move the generator, pick up all the cable, which is heavy. It's under canvas. You can't drag the lights across the ground.
Yep.
No.
Well, in that case, I will go get some flash bulbs and meet you back here.
I'll walk with you, Finley, because I'm going back to the camp anyway. What do you like to eat, Finley?
I've been snacking this whole time. I could go for a little more.
Do you like meat? Do you like fish? Do you like vegetables?
Tinned meat and powdered egg? Because that's mostly what you got.
Great.
Well, I'm going shopping in the morning, so.
Oh, that's true. Anything fresh?
I'm going to get up probably around 5, walk to the village, and then come back with some fresh.
You might find a very sleepy village if you walk there at dawn.
I don't know how big the village is, but if there's a baker, the baker will be up early making bread. And
bakers are up early.
I don't know. For something that's been around for hundreds upon hundreds of years, you all seem to be in such an awful rush.
Well, yeah, and I'll also say to Finley as we're going along, if he fell down the hole and survived, then he should have been near the hole yelling to get out. If he was knocked out, he's been knocked out for a couple of days. If he's nowhere near the entrance, he's probably passed on.
I'll try and shoot it tastefully. I expect it as such.
Well, I'm still questioning whether to go in this evening or not, but that's if that's you guys are very concerned and willing. And
the foreman seems more concerned. I could take him or leave him, but if people are going in, it's my duty to get that first discovery on camera and be able to publish it. So
probably
these are very
breakfast
important
in the
things.
morning, and you'll all wake up at noon.
Sounds wonderful.
So I'm going to find a cowbell. Wake everyone else up in the morning. All right. So I go to my room. He gets his bulbs.
Yeah, I think Roland's going to not go down in, but will stay there just to kind of monitor things. He'll I assume we're going to tie. So the plan is to tie the rope to something, right? So
there are small trees at the base inside this tower.
Okay.
So there's no shortage of totally sound anchor for the weight of a couple human beings.
I'll be sitting up here, I'm sure, with some others, I hope. And you said no more than an hour, I will start timing you, and then I will be watching the rope. If something happens and you start tugging on it, then I will go and get help.
Yeah. Anders is like, the first giant bat I see, I'm going to scream like a girl. So don't worry about it. We're just basically, if he hit his head and wandered, we'll find him. If we don't see that, then we're going to climb out and set up for proper exploration, because it seems like this might be an interesting cave, even if we don't find Kleinschmidt. And we didn't find him under the rocks, which is kind of what I was scared about, was he was just going to be crumpled. I kept my mouth shut because I thought that the young girl was going to freak out. But anyway. So, and you brought what rope? You brought lanterns. The people who are going back don't need. The only, I guess, Cartwright, you're going to sit inside the talot so you can help Fisher get down when he brings his photographic equipment. And it isn't very complicated. 2 ropes, knots on them. Anders gives this very twisty, small tree a really good yank, and finds that its roots go down into this stony structure such that you could barely wiggle the thing. And nobody feels anxious about the stability of it. And they crawl in the tunnel, and they find that after 8 or 10 feet of this actual built structure, there's a short drop. It's a little scary, even with lantern light, into an eroded cave. The walls are smooth and irregular. There are occasional stalactites, but no stalagmites. But it's more, the stone is rougher and drier rather than smoother and wetter. So that's not very surprising. And the first place that Outhwaite and Anders drop into, and Blackwell, is kind of it looks like sort of an eroded cake, like the edges pinch together and then it raises a bit. And it's, I don't know, maybe 30 feet roughly in circumference. It's irregular, but it's rounder than it is linear. And it just looks like some rock millions of years ago washed out between other rocks. And so you've just got this, it's a little slippery is the most intimidating part about it.
Got it.
And there are definitely other passages that lead out of it that have been made by human hands. They might be carved through a shallow area into another open cave. They're probably very old. But you're to look into it, to cast lantern light or a torch down into them, you're sort of running to the length of your ropes if you don't want to like go free form. Although it seems kind of level. I assume, I mean, you're calling out to each other to say, look at this and look at that. And it echoes a bit and you don't hear anybody go, help me.
Right.
We haven't seen any like blood trail or anything as we go.
You
right?
haven't seen a scrap of cloth or a drop of blood or a protruding bone or another bit of landslide. Like it's pretty, whatever caused the fall inside the outside structure, inside here, it looks like it's unchanged for a pretty long period of time. And there's only light dust because it's not like anything's living here to give off skin, but there's powder from the world. Well, it's actually pretty smooth. There's little maybe drifts of it. The air's not bad. It smells of the sea. Maybe a little, maybe there are high tide pools that then get a little stinky as they evaporate. But nothing choking.
Right,
and
not
that's
the overwhelming stench of decay and raw sewage.
And
or something
nothing
like that.
nothing that smells like sewage or a dead body that's bigger than a mouse. And probably there are things down here that clean up the mice that fall in. And that exploration is going to take you a good hour.
Okay.
So you have to decide whether, I mean, again, if Arthur went down one of those tunnels 2 days ago, you're not going to find him tonight unless you really hit the caffeine hard and become reckless.
Right.
Reckless is my middle name.
In the morning, everyone at breakfast says, "Where's Elihu?"
Before we leave, I'm just gonna take a look around just to see if there's any cave paintings or watermarks, like from maybe this was filled with water or anything like that.
I guess I would like an archaeology roll from you.
Got it. Okay. That is a hard. Oh no, I could spend one to make it a hard. I'll make it a hard.
I mean, why not spend one as a rule, unless you're at like 31 or 20. What? Yeah. If you're pretty sure at this, from the external position you are on the island, which is basically near the ridge that separates the coasts, that it hasn't been underwater. And if water has spilled in, it spills out at an equal rate, so it doesn't leave tide lines or sedimentation marks on it. Likewise, it's pretty spare and clean looking. And I think cave paintings are usually on places that have more vertical space. Whereas this is, again, the sort of pancake that doesn't have a lot of wall space. Right. However, what's striking to you is that the cut arches in the walls, as you approach them and sort of peer down to see if anything, how big a system you're in, They are definitely made with stone tools. So this is, the oldest recognized culture on these islands is the people who made the tower that you've gone under.
Mm-hmm.
And they were Bronze Age people. So they were building on top of something that was older than that, which archaeologically is going to make Meissner pee himself into light.
Interesting. I don't know if you use bronze to dig with. I guess they use stone tools.
Yeah, the technology that you're seeing, the chipping suggests to you that these people were not, the work is very old.
Yeah.
We'll put it that way. And again, there's things like calcification over time that show this wasn't jackhammered, and it wasn't dynamited, and
Right.
it wasn't hit with sledgehammers that were made out of hard metal.
Yeah, it resembles Paleolithic styles of digging and stuff like that.
That's exactly what I'm going for.
Gotcha.
Interesting. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think about this? It seems like there might have been some sort of indigenous culture even before the first people came here.
This is terribly exciting. We're going to have to dig into this quite a bit. In fact, do you want to the three of you, do you want to stand in the room and I'll get a picture of you?
Oh yeah,
maybe in front of a doorway or something. Flash.
Nice pose. Nice flash. And Finley, are you trying to peer behind their expressions of brave stoicism to see some blue?
Yeah, a little bit. There's a little bit maybe peeking around an archway or something. Just he doesn't believe it'll be there, but just in case.
Yeah, you're shielding yourself against the flash bulb and looking in the darkness of the cave, and all you get is their smug faces, a little bit of stubble and sunburn on their noses. Black and white, they'll look cool.
Hey, this is great news for the publication.
Not bad. And so you scramble up without meaningful incident. You have a late supper. You hear, roll for listen. When are you retiring directly after supper? You're late. Alvarado's went up, had some, made a frittata out of dried eggs, and went and snoozed.
I tend to wake up very early anyway.
Roland was keeping an eye on things from above and occasionally calling out.
Just to make sure we were secure.
Yep.
I was also with Roland.
Right. So yeah, the rest of you together put together a late supper. Childs approaches Blackwell and says, I think we have to set a watch. I don't want to lose power again. And your engineer agreed with me that things were tampered with. So I don't know if you want to get your people involved or if we want to try to build a structure or what we want to do. But
no, I think you're right. I'll take first watch and gents, ladies, we're going to have to set a watch schedule. I think it's going to be best for everyone involved. We'll go ahead and take first watch. Get some sleep while you can and make sure to wake up for your shift.
Now, if we have enough people, then we don't have to all be tired tomorrow. But if some of you don't feel up to it, then we'll determine the rotation around who's all right for an overnight, 2 or 3 hours. Just with I appreciate that. I assume Outhwaite are ready for it.
Oh yeah, I got some nice powder I got when I was working out in Colombia. It's great for staying awake.
All right.
Roland's more than happy to take a shift too if needed.
I think we nobody wants to keep Meissner up.
No.
No.
Anders is all for it. Nobody's going to ask Ramirez because we're sexist. Maris,
Have we considered wrapping up Meisner so that he doesn't fall out of bed, perhaps?
Earthquakes and such.
Mm-hmm.
if you want to deal with him in the morning, we're back at the universe. I mean, he signs our paychecks or will. Maris is up for it too, which means you can do 90-minute shifts.
Awesome.
And cover the night without destroying everybody's well-being. So
Fantastic.
let's set a sequence.
Sure. So I volunteered for the first watch.
Right, Blackwell's on 1.
I'll take 2.
Dupree's on 2.
Roland will go third.
Right, 3.
Finley will do 4. It's alliterative.
Finley 4. Maris will do 5. Actually, and that which is good because that's early morning. Who do I drop?
Althwaite.
Yeah, I'll do the one closest to the morning because I'll just wake up early.
Good.
What time are the 2 in the morning?
So let's say we go 10 to 11:30 to 1 to 2:30 to 4 to 5:30. So Outhwaite is just waking up at 7, which is fine.
You'll probably be
up already.
Maris is up at 5:30.
Yep.
Yeah, he'll wake me up when he starts his shift, and I'll walk into town to get breakfast stuff.
Sure.
Cool.
Good. And Maris hasn't been to town, but he knows the path that the previous fellows took, and you can see it once you're at the next ridge. It's not, you could lose it in the dark because there are plenty of path-like cuts through the vegetation, but
It's summer, 5:30. There should be plenty of light in the sky.
There'll be light. 5:30. Absolutely. Okay.
So I should be back by the end of probably well before Maris is done.
Well, I mean, nobody. Well, actually, who are you saying that to, or how are you directing?
I was just saying that to you. I was just
because the question is how sleepy this village is and what you're trying to bring back, and what day of the week it is, and so on.
I'm perhaps assuming. Well, that can be the game. I'm assuming that there'll be people up at 5:30 with breakfast stuff, bread and stuff that I want to get, fresh stuff, eggs. If they don't, then I'll just come back empty-handed, which will suck. But
it's certainly less than an hour round trip. Everyone agrees. So
perfect.
Not counting shopping time, but just foot travel. Okay. Spencer, do you have any dinner plans? Do you have or post-dinner plans? How do you want to arrange your watch?
I think what I'm going to do is as soon as dinner's finished, I'm going to go back and retrieve my Lienfield. And you remember
how are you securing that when it's not on your person?
Excellent question. I'm going to carry the bolt with me.
Mm-hmm. So leave the pieces on your cot or in your trunk, or
the whole bolt will just slide straight out of the rifle, and so that goes into a vest pocket of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And the gun is inoperable without it. So
but you're not breaking it down to put in your trunk. You're leaving it handy.
No.
Right.
No, that's too much. Yeah, that would be way too much. So he goes back, he slides the bolt home, slings it over his shoulder, and remember you had mentioned that there was a good Overwatch position that overlooks the whole camp.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to make that sort of the base station for my route. I know it's only 90 minutes, but if I'm doing pretty rapid pacing, I'd like to stop there maybe for a 10-minute break and then go again. And that
Okay.
would be my patrol route.
Interesting. Are you going to advise the other night watchers about an approach, or do you assume they're going to use good sense? Or
I'm not going to assume that they're going to use good sense, but I will make some recommendations. However, I am not offering the use of any firearms at this point. At least none that I possess. If they have their own, that's entirely up to them.
now, as far as I know, we haven't taken a time. There was kind of a break after lunch on the day of your arrival.
Mhm.
So you probably chose one of the cots in one of the little cells and basically opened your trunk and set out your what you thought needed, or locked away what you. There's very low security inside the little compound, as
It's
we've
canvas
seen.
walls and and drawstring locks. So there's very little security. However, I am just I'm keeping an eye on the weaponry, especially with
Sure.
the seemingly unstable professor running around.
Having had an incident with firearms, you don't want to repeat it.
Exactly. I hope that doesn't come across like I'm being too cautious.
Do any of you want to make any other preparations before you retire, or have any plans or activities between supper and turning out your oil lamp?
Oh, I was going to mention this may come back to bite me. But if I'm going to be asleep, the bolt is also coming out of the rifle as well. I just thought I'd mention that in case it becomes relevant at some point.
You've had an incident. All right.
I personally don't feel any kind of fear whatsoever, so I'm just sleeping like a baby.
Yeah, I think just packing away our stuff, choosing, if we haven't already, where I'm gonna sleep, and
David, do I have we were kind of talking about this out of game. Do I have a mobile development sort of thing, or would I need to kind of make a photo development room?
I think Thom solved that with his superior knowledge of early photography. You have a handy case that you can use to develop negatives in, and you'll be able to peer at those negatives safely once they've been processed.
Great. I'll set it up, but I'll actually be doing that during my shift. That seems like a good use of the 90 minutes.
Sure. When you're on watch, you should totally have your head inside a hood.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's no danger. Finley's confident.
No, he doesn't have to put his head inside. He has to do it all by finger feel.
Oh, that's true. It might actually be useful to look around in the moonlight. Any concern? How are you choosing where your sleeping pod will be? Just whatever looks empty when you stick your head in, or?
Yeah, I think I would be taking, or I would, Spencer would be taking first available.
Same.
Fair enough. Okay. Spencer, I would like you to roll luck.
Oh, here we go.
We're on watch.
So I want to make it under my luck score, right?
Yes.
Well, we're in trouble because I rolled a 70. We're at 78.
Fine. I would like you to roll spot hidden.
I misspoke and praised these dice too quickly. That's a 76. I see nothing. It's a 76 out of 40.
At about just over an hour into your watch, and it's still a bit twilight.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're not in Finland in February. It's pretty bright.
Closer to the equator.
You are startled by some loud night bird that bolts out of some shrubbery on one side and just streaks across the sky and disappears into some shrubbery on your other side. And it's, it's so, everything is so still. Like the insect life is pretty mild mannered. It's not loud, crickety, whatever. It's, there's a gentle breeze, and there's a sudden burst of leaves, and then a squawk, and then it's gone again. And by time you've clutched your rifle, and that is the only event that happens during first watch.
All right.
Are you going to wake Anders for second
yes.
watch?
So typical watch protocol is handoff is you do go and wake the next person.
Yep.
Now, if they don't get up, that's not your problem. But it's like, nope, I wouldn't wake him or woke him.
And because of that, you figured out which pod Anders was sleeping in, and when you go to wake him, he's actually sitting up on his cot. He's got an enamel cup of coffee, and he's reading probably a Bible. It's a small book. We could try to spot hidden if you care.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Nope.
Okay, we're doing a little bit better. Sorry, they're stone dice, so I have to roll them separately. A 15 out of 40.
Okay, it's not only do you know that it's a personal Bible, but it's a little Lutheran personal Bible that's probably been in his family. It's one of those things that he might have gotten at a ceremony or for an occasion from someone. It might have annotations in it, but it's not one of those big family Bibles. It's well thumbed.
Right.
And Anders raises his coffee cup at you and said, "Quiet."
Oh, just the wildlife giving me a start, but other than that, we should be all right.
Good. Sleep well.
You say you too after your shift.
Right.
And yeah, that'll be the extent of what I get up to.
Very good. So, Dupree, do you sleep?
Lightly, but somewhat, yeah.
Did you discuss with Anders how you'd like to be woken?
I just a tap on the shoulder will do.
All right. So there's, you're sleeping lightly, and you see a light moving around through your eyes a little bit, and you hear a little bit of stumbling because, new people, the map of this little cavern is unclear. And then you hear sort of a clunky, like trying to knock on canvas.
Mm-hmm.
And then.
I'm awake.
Good. All's quiet.
That's good. That's good.
I've got just what I've got 103. All right, is that?
Yep, I think that's about right.
All right.
Wait, did you sleep? Oh, well, I'm asleep. It doesn't matter.
So again, I'd like you to roll luck.
Okay. That's 10 under 50.
Okay. And spot hidden.
That is 72 over 45.
Very good. I don't think there's a lot moving around except lizards in the night. If that. It's probably at this point the insects will have quieted. Don't think there are any significant birds of prey. It's not a profoundly dense ecosystem. So it might be the hardest thing might be staying awake, honestly. Did you plan anything to keep yourself up?
I think I'd have a book. Yeah. But trying to get up and walk around too and do these perimeter checks from time to time.
I'm assuming that we left the incandescents and the generator on overnight, right? Just so
that is, I was under the impression that was the whole point of the watch.
Yes.
Right. Okay. 2:30.
However, Roland wanted me to wake him up. That's how I'll wake him up.
Yep, just shake me awake.
It was quiet. No activity.
Oh, all right. Brushes, and I assume there's coffee or something that has been brewed, even if it's cold by this point. He'll pour himself a cup, and is the watch taking place like right next to the generator, I assume?
No protocol was set up, so it's you're following your instincts.
I'll sit down next to the generator, look around, and kind of we'll go over my notes, the stuff that I drew today.
Yeah, you probably were sketching while the fellows were down below, trying to figure out what they were describing, just preparatorily.
Right.
Because that's going to be more interesting than probably the terrain around here. Mostly you're probably there to make good maps of the externals, the publishable grade, but this is going to be more exploration. And roll luck.
That is a failure.
Okay. Then spot hidden.
Another failure.
All right. You guys are lucky you're not under siege. The rolls you've had tonight have not been promising. But it has been a long day. I mean, you got up at 5 something, and then you had it's been all right. We're on to Findlay.
Findlay.
Sorry.
What time is it?
Early.
Ish.
Look at this. It's time for your watch. I'm going back to bed.
Okay.
There's coffee over there.
Great. Yeah, and I'll pick up his tools and kind of set up watch next to the generator and start to kind of mix the thing in. Yeah, he's doing a terrible job probably of actually keeping watch.
Eyes drifting as you concentrate on your wrists.
Mm-hmm.
You think about the dream you had 24 short hours ago.
Don't mess up this negative. Don't mess it up.
Mess it up. And your luck roll?
03.
All right. And your spot hidden roll?
38 under 60, so just normal.
Right. You are the first successful spot hidden all night. And you are absolutely certain that the camp is as still and silent, as safe as a quaint coastal village. And you feel like the emulsion is going on really nicely. And
Wonderful.
You do not drool on yourself even once. And 5:30 rolls around before you thought it was possible. And as you're cleaning yourself up, Hugh Maris comes out with an overcoat over pajamas and the same damn sneakers and says, rotten morning, what? Oh.
Yes, this is much too early. What time do you usually get started during these days?
It's been some... Meisner can be a tyrant both for waking us up when he has some idea or when he doesn't wish to be disturbed and he says we can't even make coffee until he wakes. However, the discovery we have made so far suggests that he is right about some things, so I suppose genius has its price or something.
Good morning,
Anyway.
gentlemen.
Oh,
How are you this morning?
Tired?
Not half as chipper as you, my good man. Well, good morning. I was just about to put another pot of this tar-like sludge we call coffee.
I'll see if I can get some better in town.
Say, Doctor, do you have a walking stick?
I do. I just picked it up off the ground. Yes.
Wonderful.
So I can beat off any would-be assailants.
I beg your pardon.
Well, one never knows, but I don't think I'm going to run into any street bandits on the way. They're probably sleeping off the alcohol they drank last night.
I don't have much an impression of the locals, but I don't think they're terribly wild types, small farmers and whatnot. I don't know.
I didn't think so. I was being rather funny, but apparently
yes.
not.
I don't. I have a strict tradition of not beginning anything like humor until at least 9:30 or 10.
Well,
So,
I should be easily back by then, fixing you all breakfast.
very good. You don't mind walking alone then?
No, it's quite refreshing this morning. A little brisk.
Actually, I'll step up to the ridge with you, so just so that we don't send you off on the wrong path.
And in that case, I'm going to take my leave and go back to sleep for
good luck.
some precious rest.
Good luck, Fisher.
Fisher. So as I walk along with Humaris, I'll be like, you know that young woman, what's her name? Damn it.
The Ramirez girl, Anna.
Yes, yeah. She's quite fond of you, I think.
Yes, I think there is a little frisson romantically. Of course, it's all very exotic being out here and to get, the young and so on. So,
As we are both grad students in the same field, it would make a quite practical relationship.
the nice thing about Anna, if I may be quite frank with a near stranger, a number of young ladies that go for higher education are not there for their PhD, but their MRS, if you know what I mean. Whereas she seems quite ambitious and driven and intelligent. So,
Well, so quite a catch then.
yes,
And if she's attracted to you, then everything's halfway there already.
Yes.
I didn't fill my mug with coffee. So we're walking. We get to the edge, I guess. And
yes, I don't want to abrogate my mission to keep an eye on things. Although honestly, I think I'd be surprised to see a swallow. But you can see their church spire stands up over that little hill there.
yes, I see
It's
it.
mostly a straight track.
Mostly dark, but a few lights are on. Hopefully they have a bakery.
Yes, I hope so. Fresh bread would be most welcome. Yes, well, good luck. We'll send a search party for you after 3 or 4 days. That's the policy around here.
It seems that's the way, yes. Well, I promise not to fall in any holes.
Bravo.
Off I go,
Off you go.
briskly.
Briskly. Which means you'll be to town before the next change of guard.
I should be there and back.
You should be there and back. I mean,
yeah.
depending on how much business there's to do. So, the village. Oh, you're the linguist. So it's called Bastajos.
Bastajos.
It's pretty tiny. As you head down again, there's another low ridge or two between the ridge that you began at, and some just some meandering, but it's more or less due south of where you began. There begins to be small farmsteads along the path as you approach. You can see there's more sort of green land to your left, which is the east, and then it's a little plaza. It's like 5 lanes that come together. There's not a lot of light, artificial light at this hour. There are definitely roosters going off as
There
you
are farms,
come toward town.
small farms.
Small farms. There's some, the prairie-ish green area that goes east, sheep and goats. You'd anticipate from the way that the spacing of it is. There are low stone walls The dwellings are fairly simple. And then the town has some two-story buildings in it. The church is by far the tallest thing. It's a little bit dilapidated in the early morning light. Nothing suggests desperate poverty or any kind of comfort.
I imagine then that kindness is appreciated. So my character is fairly talkative and affable. So whoever he sees along the road, if it's a farmer getting ready to plow or whatever, I'll engage them and I'll smile and, ask them, do you know where I can get eggs? Do you know where I can get milk? Do you know where I can get, and let my own charm sort of make them happy, make me happy.
Okay, let's start with a luck roll in that regard.
Okay. Where's my 10.
All right. So not only do you run across a farm worker that's up at this hour and active, but they are not hungover or automatically angry and afraid because you're a stranger. However, they are only going to speak Menorca, so you're going to have to try. I mean, it's not far from Spanish, but it's not Spanish. So
it's
communicating
still Latin-based. So yeah,
it's Latin-based, but all of the articles are different, and it's got a sound.
Right.
So let's have a linguistics roll.
What shall I? It's all languages that you've given me.
Oh, well, there isn't a science linguistics or anything.
Oh, wait, there's acoustics. You've got it. Should we just say there's linguistics on here? Give it a what? 60.
Let's use your education and make it easier.
Okay,
but it's going to be you'd like to have a better than basic success.
Okay. I got an 05 out of 75, so that's an extreme. I'm able to piece together and identify the roots of words.
Some of the thing that strikes you, like at first you're a little confused, and also the fellow you talk to, who's got a bigger walking stick than yours, and who's like unpenned some sheep on a hill in the distance. If he had any teeth between here and here, or there and there, it would be easier. And the other thing is that the articles are strange. It's not a or el or ea. It's sa, and they're off-putting because they come up so much. But he's but you get a grasp of it quickly, and you also figure out, like, I'm from away. I'm looking for who's awake. And there are eggs or bread or, and you and once you get close enough to eggs that he can meet you. So there's a baker. That's the only thing that's open in town. But there will be a farm market, but not for 3 hours. And then there will be other produce. But he says, I will take you 2 doors down. The old lady has the best eggs, so you can get bread and you can get eggs, and then if you want things later, you just have to come when the market's open. People travel in from miles.
Excellent, wonderful. I'm kind of assuming, the eggs and the possibly at the baker's they might have some spare milk and flour, but we'll see. You
don't need to buy flour because that's the kind of sack good that you're prepared
that we already have.
That you have. But fresh eggs versus powdered eggs, and
better,
and the baker does have a cold chest with some cheese in it. But they're not.
We'll also say I brought a basket, obviously, for bringing this stuff back. And I will pay them in whatever generously.
I can't. I mean, I'm sure you had to touch. I don't imagine you came from the well, maybe you just brought currency from the mainland. I don't actually know how that would work. But it's
One
a
has to
Spanish
tip.
colony, so yeah. And you definitely, again, you get the idea of the old egg lady, and you get the idea of your toothless shepherd, like, and you get a sense the baker's a little less friendly, but maybe he just hates getting up at 3 every day. And like usually he'd be occupied and alone at this hour, and you're here. But then you grease everybody's palms, and
I grease their ears, and I'm friendly, and I call them by name, and I make
Yeah.
friends. That's the most important part.
yeah, now you come back with, and the sense of the village you get is medieval.
Yeah.
You get a sense that these people, like, you don't know how much electric light there is. There's probably a telegraph, but you're not seeing, like, it's not strung everywhere. And it's dark in the early hours. I mean, people aren't getting up and lighting their lanterns at the crack of dawn, and they certainly don't have street lights or anything like that. And your impression of their clothing and, their island skin, like they're living a raw, natural, rustic life that
Sure.
is kind of charming, a little smelly, and they're not unhappy to take your reales or whatever the currency is in Spain in 1925.
Right.
Good.
And so I'm off back towards the camp.
Good. All that chatting will take you a little while, of course, and you've got ups and downs. Dr. Outhwaite, you were awoken. Are you awake at 7 on the dot, or are you still snoozing?
No, I'll be snoozing. Someone can wake me up.
Yeah. So Maris is going to stick a mug of coffee through your flap, and clear his throat, because he doesn't. After he had his personal space barged in on last night, he's feeling a little. He's reminded of how important it is to have a little private space in this world. And then, if
Maris, how you doing?
Oh, weary. All right though. Your linguist fellow is quite the eager beaver, isn't he?
Oh, yep.
Shot out of here as though you'd all slept on the voyage here and slept all day. Chipper as I don't know, some sort of spring bird. Odd duck. Anyway, all's quiet. Other people will start to wake up. I am going to try to catch 20 winks or 15 before we start the day.
Good luck with that.
Kleinschmidt, he was very cowed by Professor Meissner. I'm afraid that he met his end, trying to impress the old son of a bitch. Makes me feel rather piteous for him.
No,
I don't like the prospect of finding him at the bottom of some well later in the day. I was only looking for very old bones,
Well, I think he could still be alive. People seem very pessimistic around here. I mean, he could have, for all we know, he could have crawled his way out some other hole. There seemed like plenty of airflow in there.
Yes, if he had a canteen on him and he minded his well-being.
If he had a lantern on him is the real thing. If he didn't, then he wouldn't have been able to make far.
Well, we didn't see a broken lantern. I suppose it depends on what caused the landfall as well.
Yeah.
He wasn't under it. Do you suppose he could have dug himself out if he'd been uninjured? It was quite a bit of stone.
I don't think so. I think he either crawled out, made his way out, or he's still in there, in which case we'll have to get him as quick as possible.
Poor chap. Well, on that cheery note, I'll try to get a little shut-eye. Hope all's well, all's quiet.
Oh, yeah.
You do not need to roll luck, but you should roll spot hidden, please.
All right.
The final watch.
Oh dear. I'll spend a few to make that a success.
How many?
15. I
that is
rolled a
quite a
pretty good
few.
luck.
I would advise against. Didn't you spend already some chunk?
I spent one just now.
I thought last week you spent a bit. I don't remember. I don't keep track.
Oh, I might have. I didn't keep track of it.
Finley spent a good chunk.
Finley spent about 15.
All right,
Yeah.
I won't spend that. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like you to waste that much luck on disappointment. Spencer?
Oh, I was going to say that we appreciate the advisory on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like the flexibility built into the luck system should include a little bit of reward and not just, bad enough when what you spot is that nothing is hidden after all. Good. So your watch is uneventful. Toward the end of it, you see Alvarado. If you're over on the southern ridge, you'll see him earlier, making his way. He's got a little staff and a basket, and he looks, even at distance, slightly smug. But even though it's only been a day, the prospect of some fresh food is nice. And also somebody went to the village and came back, and that's good too. So Alvarado will get on breakfast, and you can wake up at your leisure. Everyone appears in the next hour intact for breakfast. There are no missing persons. Meister doesn't seem as frantic. Possibly he's relieved that his assistant fell down a hole instead of ran off with his secrets or betrayed him, and or maybe it's just the sense of knowledge. I don't know. He doesn't seem quite as mad. Maybe he ramps up over the course of the day. Maybe he's trying to seem calm so he can get a hold of that rifle. But you have breakfast and you can plan your day.
Well, would I be able to have do the negatives come in a little box at this point? Do they what does that look like once they're developed or prepared?
I think they look like negatives, right, Tom?
Yeah,
so they're light friendly.
They're negatives.
You can put them in a shady box so that you can look at them individually against light and see the image without damaging.
He probably would have a jeweler's loop.
You could
so he
look
could
up, right? Yeah.
Look through.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to start checking those there, and if there's any particularly good ones, be handing them to people to look at you, Pri. I got you looking quite dashing, swimming away from the boat.
So when you say, how many images would you say you took on Friday?
Probably an aggressive amount based on how much film I truly have left.
Okay.
I like that descriptor, an aggressive amount.
So you started at gung ho.
Yes.
And now you've realized that you might be here for some weeks and you might have to be a little more Spartan.
Perhaps, yes.
Right. So there's the photographs you took on the Lenora.
Yep.
The dinner the night before, and then the Lenora.
Yep.
And then
the walk.
A couple of shots of Menorca from the sea. And then after the earthquake. Right. Okay.
Yep.
So it'll take a little sifting before you find the one that you shot on the Naveta. And then you'll have to decide whether you want to share it. You passed your SAN with a heroic number. So I'm not gonna, and it's black and white and it's still, and you're not with your face in this thing.
Mhm.
So you can look at it with a cool dispassion, but it's, there's flash shadow, right? So there are these gray stones in fairly sharp relief. There's the bright ground right in front of you and the dimming ground, and in the distance on the left, the depression from which bones emerge, and the stone back wall, which isn't very distinct. And between that back wall and the camera lens is a humanoid figure. It reflects the flash as if it's wet, glistening. It has a trunk and 4 limbs. It doesn't exactly have all the fingers and toes. There's sort of indications of them. There's some separation.
Maybe like a webbing or something in between them, or
Like a
kind of tough to see.
webbing, or like the bones are there, but the skin over them is mushier. And there's a neck and there's a skull and there are depressions in the skull, but there aren't nostrils, there's not a mouth, and there aren't eyes. They're just depressions. And it's shinier than the stone around it, and it casts a shadow from the flash against the rock. And it wasn't there when you went in later.
Finley's getting very excited. Roland, Elihu, come here. Remember when we saw that? Here. He has to pull the little jeweler. Roland, look at this. This is what we were missing. I knew I saw something.
What?
Take a look.
But
It's
that
the
wasn't
thing
in
I
there.
saw.
Where could it have gone? This doesn't make sense.
And we'll, of course, need sand rolls for looking at it. I mean, he's a good enough photographer. Okay. So I guess, yeah, we should go in sequence so that we can respond to previous viewers. So he shows it to Roland, and Roland, I guess we'll do intelligence after the fail.
That I passed.
Great.
Quite well.
And I'd like to follow up with Dex under that circumstance.
That is a pass as well.
All right. So just let's 1d4 for the recognition that you were looking in at this thing that you couldn't see. Fine. And you passed your Dex, so you don't drop the little jeweler's loop and negative case on the ground, but just shakily hand it back to Finley.
This isn't some photography trick that you're pulling.
No, I don't have time for that to do like a double negative or something. No, this is quite real. This is what I said. This is very exciting.
I agree, but and so when you say it's humanoid, it's like humanoid size, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't go to see that hole that was in the where you and Eli looked. Could it have fit through that? I thought you described it as small. This is, person sized.
Yeah, looking at the skull, does it look like even the skull would fit? Because it seemed like the hole's like fist sized, right?
Seems like it would be a tight fit for sure.
Maybe. That's the only way I could think. Maybe it can like dislocate and squish through.
I don't.
Like a raccoon or something.
Yeah, like humanoids adapted for cave living.
I mean, I'm not a man of science, but that seems
Exciting.
or unlikely. Either way, it's new, I guess.
Yeah. Here you go, Elihu. Here, yeah, you can. You want to take a look too?
Yeah, I'll take a look. Curiosity killed the cat.
So same thing. It's gross, and you should roll sand.
Now that is, in fact, some sort of creature. Okay, I got a 55. And my SAN is 65. So I'm good.
You are rationalizing the hell out of this. It's weird, but it's a photograph, and it'll make sense. It'll make sense. Does anybody want to spread the word?
Yeah, I think Finley's like getting animated at this point. Like there was someone there. Like, this is so exciting. And yeah, kind of. If anybody wants to look, please.
Yeah, no, I'd be interested. You're saying someone was in fact there.
Yes, but when we went in, they weren't there. There's no way they could have escaped except by squishing into a very
As a
tiny
fail
hole.
on my sanity.
All right. You're prepared though, so let's do just a 1d2
Okay,
in response.
2.
All right. So you are prepared, but you are jarred.
My God, what is that?
Wait, I realized just now I could have been terribly insensitive. What did Arthur look like exactly?
Arthur looked like an assistant professor.
That's not a person, Finley. That's
Well,
a thing, a creature, something.
I'm joking. That's true. It does. I mean, it's got the right number of limbs and a skull. Maybe he's just not much to look at. Thus the academia.
Where are you guys doing this?
I'm assuming just kind of at camp, right?
Yeah.
Right, where
Out in the
the
open.
Dinner.
the joint dining tables are under the
Okay.
tarps.
So if it's during the dining, then I will be there, and I'll say, let me also see this.
Please enjoy some rolls.
That creature is there. We shouldn't go back. Who knows what it could do?
I passed my sand. It's a trick of the light, an artifact from the flashbulb, the stones. It looks pretty odd.
And when you think about it, the way, I mean, it's shiny, but it seems so smooth. Maybe it's something blurred, or maybe it's something smaller that's closer to the camera and therefore out of focus.
Would there have been a fog inside? Was there a...
The stones
Fog?
themselves are pretty clear, but the way the crouched figure is so smoothish, maybe it was blurred. It's one of those death's head moths right here.
Maybe you caught the picture of a spirit of... I'm being silly now, but
Ghost photography.
very strange. I've seen some very strange photography. Ectoplasm. Could it be ectoplasm?
Now, at this
I'm a
point,
photographer.
Spencer must be
Yeah,
compelled.
I'm just going cross-eyed over here.
Please.
Who wants more scrambled eggs?
So I did succeed. I mean, if I'm looking at this photo, do I also have to roll a sanity? I'm assuming yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I've got a 48 out of 55, so it's at least a success.
Yep. You're rationalizing that this is not what it seems, that it's confusing, but it's not gonna change your day or your plans. And you were one of the people who crawled in, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So there wasn't anybody there. So
Right. Well, clearly you've gone and bungled up whatever process this is.
I can't believe you'd say something like I'm an expert photographer. I mean, yes, it's a little blurry, maybe here and there, but it's very clearly there. And it was blue. You can't see that in the negative, but it was also blue. This is exciting. I really hope we meet more of these down in those tunnels.
You saw it and you still went in there?
Well, it wasn't there when I looked again.
Well,
so it ran away, and then that was no
I thought
alarm.
I thought it was a statue or something, and then when we went in, it wasn't there. So I thought I was hallucinating, and now I have photographic evidence that something was there.
I liked it better when you were hallucinating. Well, whatever that is, I'm willing to bet it's not bulletproof. So why don't we go find their missing professor?
Whoa. I suppose we are archaeologists, not anthropologists, so it's fair enough.
You're a photographer.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't shoot. This could be, someone that's lived in the caves for ages, or a ghost, apparently. I know you're joking, but it could be a ghost. And I got it on film.
Right.
Of course, Meissner's noticed the cluster of you chuckling together and passing this thing around, and so he marches up, sets a coffee cup down firmly, and says, "You have something you have found of interest?" "Yeah."
"Sure. Yeah, this seems like a good idea. Here you go."
Sorry.
This is it's most unnatural. The scale of it. Would you say it was the size of an actual man?
You can see the rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's bent over because the ceiling.
Maybe 7, 8 feet tall.
Did you say that this was blue?
Yes, blue.
Yeah. Yeah. The Blue Mother.
The what?
The part of the chain of inference that has brought us here is the iconography of religion over spans of time. The goddess Isis, who is figured often feeding her infant child, is frequently depicted as blue. The Virgin Mary also is frequently reproduced as dressed in blue.
Blue is the color of heaven.
Blue is the sea and the sky. Blue is eternal. The Phoenicians also had a blue goddess. It is one of my beliefs that the Phoenicians, who are known to have gone as far around the south of the Mediterranean as Majorca, there has not been evidence yet that they reached this island. But I believe I will prove that they did, and that the artifacts that we will find here will relate to this ancient myth of a blue mother.
So you're suggesting that I took a photograph of a goddess?
No, there is no goddess. But perhaps there is a phenomenon that is here that has spread through myth over the last 3,500 years that we will uncover. And then we shall all be very well regarded, and our careers will be excellent, and the Blue Mother will give us a bounty, whatever that may be. But we have to find out what you really saw. So I guess we dig deeper in the Nevada today, no?
So we're thinking something along the lines of the Oracle of Delphi, where the gods spoke to humans, but it was the priestesses who were breathing poisonous volcanic gases that were hallucinating.
Yeah, this is exactly the kind of phenomenon. There's something that lives in the caves here, perhaps,
A mist, yeah.
It looks like a sloth, except it is colored as because it lives under the ground in some strange way, or reflects in some strange way, or perhaps is like what's the pink bird that only eats the pink fish, and then
Flamingo?
something like
Flamingo.
this. And we simply have not found. We have barely begun digging the Neveta. Yeah, so there is simply some, as we found in the talot yesterday. There is simply a cave entrance. We have our ancient animal. Maybe this is a photograph from behind. It doesn't have a, it's very, well, we need to see it to find where it lives.
This is, oh my goodness. Okay, so we'll need better lighting next time because I don't have that many flash bulbs. But look, it ran away from what, 2 of us? It's fine, right? We can go down and maybe we go through the tower one and it connects, right? Because that'd be faster.
It
It
probably
Also,
eats food. I mean, we could try to bait it with some sort of food.
we don't know what it would eat, though. It could be eating cave things. It also is possible, I suppose, although it looks rather bony, that it might not actually have bones. The bones might be cartilaginous, and it can slip through the hole without.
There is the mystery of the sea peoples as well. The mysterious culture that swept across and destroyed Minoan civilization and so on, never described as anything other than terrible and from the sea. Yeah, maybe it is something that lives in underwater caves. This is interesting also.
They weren't blue, if I remember correctly.
We may put our names on a large piece of history.
Spencer's just looking at these nerds like,
yes,
what the hell are they talking about?
we're nerds. That's why we're
here. Mr. Fisher, you should. Do you have the ability to reproduce the negative as well? Because we should secure this piece of evidence.
Yes.
Maybe even we will send some of these on mule to one of the towns so we can get them by mail back to civilization.
Yes, that is a wonderful idea.
Right.
And with some of my more striking shots as well, and photographic evidence. What's the word I'm looking for? Ownership, yes. He's now back to that pile.
Yeah, I think you will find that the expedition owns all of the imagery you produce here, but we will leave that to the lawyers and pencil counters and whatnot. So, today we go back to the talot. We find out the caves. We learn where the ocelot lives, or whatever this thing is.
Does the professor want to name the thing? If it is an animal, you have the right. Or I suppose you could let Finley do it.
If we find a living thing, then we will have to bring biologists in to name it, I suppose. But we will all be honored in one fashion or another by this discovery. I am hopeful.
Well, while I'm as excited as everybody else to go down into this cave to find this thing, might I also remind you all the original reason why we were going down into the cave is because Kleinschmidt is missing.
Our missing man.
Is it not a possibility that whatever this thing is, it's the thing that may have taken him?
Well,
We did find his glasses and pen near one of these openings.
and an assault by a creature would leave those things broken on the floor.
Finally, someone's talking some sense.
No,
Why we
I
want to
don't
just
think so.
blindly run in here?
Well,
It's
bring a gun.
The thing in his photograph hasn't even a mouth to eat a man, so. And it runs away, as Mr. Finley says, from 2 people crawling in the dark, which doesn't sound so very terrible to me. It's remained hidden here for all these millennia.
We also don't want to kill what might be the only one of its species.
And
You bring
yes,
up a good point.
We want to capture it and put it into a zoo for scientific study.
this belongs in a museum.
If any luck, we'll find a group of them.
That's my line.
There must be a group if they are here all this time. Or again, it is another phenomenon that is less like an animal. It's a mystery, but an ancient mystery, and we are at the edge of discovering it. So, congratulations. Good
Right.
go and dig.
Could we take like a 10-minute break?
We're actually at 2 hours right
Yeah,
now.
Yeah.
we're
Oh, okay.
yeah. So, ladies, gentlemen, bring your gloves, your ropes, your shovels. It is time for us to go and have a dig.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
Safe as houses.
Very good. Is that what we should call it?
Yeah,
Leave
we get ready.
Yeah.
We get ready to go underground.
All right. Our players included Max Meltzer, Holly Butow, Gordon Lewis, Tyler Hudak, Nathan Decker, and myself, with David Gassaway as the Keeper of Arcane Lore. We have a Discord server where you can chat with other members, you can set up private games, and you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Spotify, Podbean, or iTunes. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account or hit the Super Thanks button just below. It's your contributions that keep us going. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Thom Raley, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.